Okay, obviously all of this is my opinions. And if you're watching this, I'm assuming you're working on a limited budget and you've just started streaming or recording or whatever you're going to use your microphone for. And if you have, man, in my opinion, I urge you just to get a 57 or a 58. Now, if you're going to get a 57, get a pop filter like this. In this scenario, I'm assuming you're going to have minimal sound treatment and you're going to be working in a room that's highly reflective, like the one I'm in right now. So here's the thing, with a 57 or a 58 or another dynamic microphone such as this one, the polar pattern or the method and the direction in which they take their signal is going to be much smaller. What this means is if I get really far away from it, you're not going to hear me very well. And that's a good thing, because the farther away I get from the source, the uglier the sound is going to get because we are not in a treated room. It's also less sensitive to sound pressure or loudness levels. If I talk really loud into it, it's not going to sound nearly as drastic if I talk a lot louder into a condenser microphone, which we're going to get to in a minute. It's also incredibly rugged. This one that I'm talking into has been underwater. Don't ask how it got underwater, but it's been in a bucket of water. All right, so here's going to be my transition. If I talk really close into this one and I get farther and farther away, my voice is going to get farther and farther away. And essentially, the audio source is going to be much more minimal the farther away I get, which means the audio quality, the closer I get to the microphone, is going to be much better. Now, let's compare that to the Rode NT1, which you guys love like a lot. If I get farther away, while you can still hear me a little bit clearer, you're going to hear like mostly the room noise, because that's most of the audio source, is the reflections coming off of my untreated room and back into the microphone, because it's way more sensitive. Side note, you should probably use headphones for this part. It's just going to be way more clear. While I also love the Rode NT1, it's one of my favorite mics, it's going to pick up so much more of the room. I'm monitoring myself with these headphones right now, and I basically just hear the room. You can also hear if I like squirm around. Now, the only way I can really mediate this is I can talk low and I can get closer to the microphone. What's going to happen is the proximity effect. We're going to hear more bass. We're obviously going to hear more of me and less of the room, because that's what the audio source is picking up. I mean, have you guys ever seen those YouTubers that have like basically swallowed their microphone? That's what the proximity effect is. Obviously, this does not mean the Rode NT1 is bad. It's awesome. But large diaphragms are going to be way more sensitive. They're going to hear everything in your room, so you better have a good room to record in. That being said, when you do record in a nicer room, you're going to get a much lusher, delicate, dynamic sound out of it. Yeah, basically just give it the proper environment. Now, this whole video has been like a voice test of me talking, but really quick, let's do an acoustic guitar, just so you can hear it on an instrument as well. Now, there is one other option that can seem rather tempting, and like I said before, this is all my opinion, so if you want to go with this tempting option, do it. But I'm sure you've seen these microphones that are USB microphones, like the blue Yeti. Now, these are like $130. They're the cheapest option. You don't need an interface. So if you're paying for something like a SM57 and a Scarlett interface, it's going to be around $200, whereas the blue Yeti is like $130. Think about this for a second. This is a passive microphone that runs a cable into a mic preamp, and then it changes the analog signal into a digital signal. Now, the preamp and the analog to digital signal all happens within the interface itself. If we don't have that, all of those processes are going to be occurring inside of that USB microphone. What does this mean for the sound quality? Well, all of these circuits running inside of the microphone are going to produce self-noise. You will hear like a higher frequency fuzz, and you'll hear more hisses with a USB microphone because it's an active electronic component. It has to do a bunch of processing within the microphone itself before the computer can ever read it. This microphone source, it is truly passive. All that processing is happening in an external source from where the audio is actually being recorded. In addition to that, most USB microphones mimic the same quality as a condenser microphone. Proximity effect is going to come into play. You're going to hear more room noise. And as said before, you're going to have a lot of self noise from the microphone, and it's going to be lower fidelity audio. So in this situation of the SM57 or the 58 against the entire world, 57 wins. It's more forgiving, it's indestructible, it's legendary, it's been used on all of your favorite songs, I promise you. It's cheap and it's an icon. So in this situation, don't go for a more expensive condenser if you don't have a room that's prepared for it. I wouldn't go for a USB microphone because they're not going to be as high quality. This is a perfect middle ground, and you're buying a microphone that every audio engineer has in their back pocket. And with that, my rant is over. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and have a great day.